Hello and welcome to the Glendale Arts and Culture Commission meeting, March 17. What are we today? 16. We have roll call.
Commissioners Deaver,
Here.
Sahakian,
Here.
Chairperson Oshigan.
Here.
For the record, Commissioner Verhoevenessian and Commissioner Shurikian are not present. The agenda for the March 16th meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on March 9th, 2017.
Yep. Roll call then. Sorry. Consent items.
Next item. Item 2, consent items. At 2A, approval of regular meeting minutes from February 16th, 2017.
We have any comments, questions?
I would move approval.
I'll second that.
Commissioners Deaver,
Yes.
Sahakian,
Yes.
Chairperson Oshigan.
Yes.
Item 3, introduction and presentations. At 3A, Library Arts and Culture events presented by Chuck Wyke, Community Relations Manager.
Good afternoon, Chair Oshigan, Commissioners, City staff. Got a nice couple of events to tell you about. I'll start off with a picture of our Central Library under construction, some of the signage along Harvard. This is all going to be very, very new to the public. We'll have our entrance here on Harvard Street and also a back entrance by the park. Next picture, the inside will look a little different. There's a staircase going up. To the right, you can't see it, that would be the administration office. To the left is the auditorium, both on the second floor. So that staircase will lead you from Harvard right upstairs to this area, which used to be the administration offices. It is now a reading spa. The carpet is down, the lights are in. It's pretty well put together. They're just letting everything dry. I think all the paint's done and so forth, which is great news. It's going to be a whole new public area just for reading. There's bookshelves in there now, and there's a lot of our shelving will be portable and kind of movable, I guess is the best way to call it. So that's cool. But the most important thing, well, one of the most important, the maker space, this is the side view of that room. I won't go inside, I'll just show you the outside. But the Central Library will reopen on May 1st, 2017. That's a Monday. I'm not sure what time. The best thing is to look at our website, www.glendalelac.org, or to follow us on social media. There will be an event a couple of days before on Friday, April 28th from 6 to 9 p.m. The Glendale Library Foundation will kind of have their very first public event. It's a fundraising event. They will have tickets, so you'll have to check our website or the foundation website for that information. They're calling it the Creation, Celebration, and Reopening Gala. So it'll be a big to-do. I hope to see you all there. Again, May 1st, we're reopening the Central Library. We're very excited. So, as we carry on, in March this Saturday, there's a couple of events that might interest you. Louis Cruz Beltran played at last year's Brand Plaza Series, sponsored by the Arts and Culture Commission. He will return to do a children's program. So it's just him, congas, bongos, and some drums and shakers and things. And that's Saturday, March 18th. A whole family, 10:30. The whole family's invited. The reception, the opening reception for Man-Made, the new show at the Brand Library Art Galleries, is also on Saturday, March 18th. That's at 6 o'clock. We have a holiday closure coming up, Easter Sunday, April 16th. I needed a picture of a bunny, so that's, what's the guy's name, Kuntz? That's his bunny, and he won't be there, but we'll be closed that day. The Brand Associates are going to have another in their series of music performances at the Brand Library. That's April 22 at 2 p.m. It's a Saturday. The Echo Mountain Chamber Project. Really nice ensemble. It's a three-piece. They're members of the LA Phil and different local orchestras. Beyond the Box, the utility box murals will be painted on the weekend of April 7th through 9th. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So our staff will be out each day, just helping out the artists, talking to them. They're going to be working hard for those 3 days. There are a couple of call for performers. The Brand Library Plaza series will continue this summer, June, July, and August, every Friday night. And the applications are out, and they are due back April 3rd. We have a nice listing of performers that a couple of you will review later in April. Okay, yeah, Central Library coming soon. Now, I just want to point out the front doors to the library. If you take a look at those doors, and if you remember this, come up to the administration office and take a look at the administration office doors. You will see a similarity. Let me know if you see it. In any case, like that, see? That's what it looks like just a couple of days ago. So that's me in the yellow hat. We're ready to go. The doors work. There's a really nifty plaza out there. They were just putting in plants that day. And we have a call for auditions for what we're calling 222 East, another plaza series, but this time at that Central Library Plaza. The applications are due April 4th. I have a few applications already in, and we've contacted a number of artists. We've sent it out to LA County, LA City, their arts commissions and so forth to get it out there. So we're starting to make headway with that. It should be a lot of fun. That will probably be weekends, maybe evenings, maybe lunchtimes, but all outside of the Central Library Plaza. So I would say we're going to look for just about anything. I want to see it all at that audition process. Jugglers, mimes, dance groups, musicians, obviously. We already have, I know I have a couple of spoken word performers. So it's going to be varied. Again, if you want any information, check out our website. Call us, call Library Administration. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, social media. We'll do everything we can to get the word out to you or to anybody who calls.
Thank you very much, Chuck. Any
Welcome.
questions?
I'll just one comment. I'm super excited about the upcoming opening, and congratulations on all the work that's gone into that.
Okay. Item 4, oral communications. There's no blue cards.
Okay. Item 6.
Item 5, business agenda. At 5A, discussion item. 5A1, Arts and Culture Commission, rules of procedure regarding community liaisons.
Good afternoon, Chair Oshigan and members of the Arts and Culture Commission. My name is Sharon Mann Garrett. I'm your Principal Library Arts and Culture Administrator. Good afternoon. At your last meeting, commissioners assigned staff to research the history and rationale for assigning commissioners as liaisons to community groups. This request followed a lengthy discussion surrounding the commitment of commissioners to attend board of directors meetings of the Brand Associates, Glendale Arts, and the Museum of Neon Art, as the commission has a long history of involvement with those organizations and has appointed a commissioner for many years. Staff located the rules for this activity within the Arts and Culture Commission Resolution 2014-01, Section 3, Item 3C, which indicates that the Commission may or may not provide a liaison to other organizations at its discretion. The rule, which was adopted by the Arts and Culture Commission in July 2014, states, in an effort to raise the profile of arts and culture in Glendale and to create partnerships, the commission may appoint one commissioner to serve as an official liaison to, 1, other city boards, commissions, or entities with their agreement and consent, and 2, private organizations with their agreement and consent. So in a nutshell, it's really up to yourselves whether or not you want to be or provide liaisons to other organizations or not to do that. That concludes my report. Oh, additionally, the resolution of the Arts and Culture Commission of the City of Glendale adopting rules and procedures follows my report, which specifically details all your activities and basically what you're chartered to be doing.
How long have we been a liaison for the brand Glendale Arts and Brand Associates? How many years has it been? Do we know? Anybody have a feeling for that?
We don't know. We don't know how long the commission's been interested in working with those groups, either formally or informally. It appears that these liaisons cropped up organically.
So, do we have any comments? Go ahead. Any
I'll
questions?
just start. I'll say one. Yeah, it predates me, and when I came on, that those were in place, and then the Museum of Neon Art, I believe that they requested that because they were coming into Glendale and working through a lot of city processes. You know, we talked about all this at length last meeting, and I would just throw out for discussion whether it is necessarily appropriate for commissioners to be serving in that capacity, and unless there's a really specific reason. We've had these sort of ongoing positions, and I think we talked about how, depending on who's assigned, might bring support based on their own interests, their own experience and background and whatnot, versus being really a liaison to the city, where they might need a little extra help because they are relocating to the city and are having to work through different processes and understand, you know, who they might want to network with or connect with within the community, either from a fundraising standpoint or from a city standpoint, just knowing who the players are. I think traditionally in a lot of cities, that type of interaction with the city goes through staff. Usually there's if there's a staff that has the allotted time, which we don't necessarily have in this city, based on the general budget that is put forth for a position for arts and culture. But generally, I think that is how it occurs, and I expect that the reason the commissioners have is that our role has evolved in the city over time as well, where I think we were doing a lot of that as a body, probably when we were formed, a lot more of a community-based type of approach rather than overseeing or giving recommendations regarding the Urban Art Fund or recommendations regarding policy in the city. So long way of just saying my inclination would be to not have set liaisons to nonprofit or other organizations in the community unless there is like a really specific reason, and that to flow those types of questions, interactions, and such through the city staff, and then hopefully as well, you know, down the road a discussion about supporting our city staff with regard to arts and culture, which we should be doing at a more robust level than we are, I think. My 2 cents.
Yeah.
And kind of similar train of thought. First, I think the liaison positions predate me on the commission as well. And I think for the positions we currently have, so whether that be Glendale Arts or whether that be Museum of Neon Arts, we talked at length about Brand Associates. I think we've previously made commitments to them, so I think first, I don't think we should unilaterally make a decision today necessarily. I think we need to have a conversation with each respective organization, kind of discuss the needs, kind of reanalyze and see if the liaison has been effective, having that relationship, or maybe we can proceed in an unofficial role. And I know with the Brand Associates, we talked about the idea of rotating commissioners, and we can be present when needed, but of course we always have staff present as well. On the second note of just kind of moving forward, many community groups have come up to me as well and kind of shown interest in liaison, and that was the big question of, well, what is the official policy? You know, how do we decide which organizations do we associate with, do we not associate with? I think, for my concern is that, we if let's say I were to volunteer to be a liaison for a certain organization or board, well, what happens if I'm no longer commissioner or another commissioner is no longer commissioner? And what happens to that relationship moving forward? So kind of the concern of being 5 volunteers to overextend ourselves and then there's no sustainability over a long period of time. And 3, I think I like the policy as it is currently because, you know, us 5 may think that perhaps the liaison role should be taken case by case, but perhaps a future commission may think otherwise, and I think it's good to have that flexibility. But I think I'm kind of along the lines of Commissioner Deaver that outside of the current commitments we have, I think we should take a step back and kind of, I think it's okay for us to continue to have kind of an ongoing dialogue. If there's an interest shown from an organization, let the commission discuss it, kind of take it case by case, and don't make it necessarily an automatic thing so that, you know, in the case of Museum of Neon Arts, for example, they're coming to the city and absolutely they have specific needs that are time-based and not necessarily, unilaterally going to be needed forever, essentially. And I think rather than it be a ceremonial thing, I think we should be figuring out what is the best use of the commission's time, how are we most effective, how are we going to help the organizations in the community, and you know, broadly, the many, many organizations we have in the community. So those are just some of my thoughts.
Staff has a little discussion on this too. I agree with the 2 commissioners before the chair speaks that it did make sense to have a liaison from various commissions as organizations were entering the city, and certain organizations do have staff liaisons, or they're even housed in staff locations where it's really probably just ceremonious to have a commission liaison. I did want to point out that now that economic development has committed to the arts and entertainment, maybe not arts and culture the way we see it, but the arts and entertainment for the city, we do have a city staff that is devoted to helping organizations get off of their feet in the city, especially if they are arts or entertainment focused. So that probably was not the case many years ago. This is a new focus now that the downtown is built out and many parts of the city are built out. The city is looking to sustain with arts and entertainment and draw people in for visitor attraction and tourist attraction. So I do think new organizations coming to the city, especially if they're occupying new buildings, do have now more options or more opportunity to get city help that they may need for things like permitting and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of on the same vein here, and I think definitely there's the idea of the temporary liaison. I think is really important. That is not somebody who stays on our organization for 15 years or whatever. It seems to predate everybody here, these liaisons. So I think we should definitely do it on a case-by-case basis when it's needed, and make sure that it's very clear that this is just a transitionary thing, because we don't want to. We are only 5, and we don't want to be. We want to effectively use our resources, especially when the master plan kicks in. I think we're going to be very busy, and so I think we have to really figure out where our resources should go. But also, we probably should just not unilaterally stop our liaison activities, and perhaps we should today agree on a sort of a date where we think that then at some point we should reevaluate all of the liaisons that we have right now, and then decide what we want to do in the future. Yes, go ahead.
On that end, would it make some sense to, as Commissioner had suggested, is reaching out to those groups that we currently have relationships with, and either asking staff to meet with and report back, or inviting them to the commission to talk about what their needs are? I don't know what necessarily the most efficient path or what they would prefer, but as a next step for our next meeting, perhaps, I don't know what the timing is for folks, but within the next month or 2 to be able to have some sense of what direction to go in with those.
I think that's a terrific idea. In fact, the Brand Associates did reach out to us between these 2 meetings to explain that they would want to give us some input. Staff felt that we should first understand the rules and the spirit of why we were doing it before we started to entertain comments from the 3 organizations. So I think the natural next step is to talk to them, see what their needs are and desires, and invite them to come in and frankly appeal to yourselves as to what they would like the ongoing relationship to be.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, actually. We should do that. Do we need a motion? No? Yeah, next.
Item 5A2, Arts and Culture Commission project updates.
Hello again. There I am. I'm just going to give you all a brief update on the aspects of our work plan that have changed since we last met. One of the really exciting programs that we have is Beyond the Box. It seeks to beautify the city streetscape with colorful and interesting murals installed by selected artists on city-owned utility boxes. Currently, we have murals on over 80 boxes, and it's been very well received by residents and visitors to the city. We're installing murals in waves of 10 to 15 at a time per neighborhood. And there's an interactive map on the city website that shows you where those are. We've also produced a brochure which will be distributed widely throughout the city and to arts organizations. On February the 1st, staff identified 12 city-owned mural boxes for the next wave. They're in highly trafficked areas along Glendale Avenue, between Monterey Road, Broadway between Chevy Chase Drive and Louis Street. Again, those are all identified on the website. A call for artists was released on February 6th, and the deadline for submissions was March 7th. A total of 124 applications were submitted. Submissions were reviewed and selected by a committee consisting of Commissioner Sharikian, Commissioner Sahakian, and city staff. Selected artists were notified today, I believe, and cleaning and the priming of boxes will be done a week before the installations, which will occur on April 7th, 8th, and 9th. And the rest of the report just kind of explains the program more, but I'd like to just use this time to show you the boxes that were selected. The first one is by a Glendale artist. It's a beautiful bird design, which we think will be really pop from the street. This one's by Stephanie Miller, also another Glendale resident, horses. Julia Somni Hegland, a Glendale resident, submitted this, and we all really liked it very much. Ricardo Cereso submitted this artwork, which we thought had a really beautiful theme of having the two birds reversed, one white and one colored, one background white, one background colored. Mane Nazarian, who is a Crescenta Valley High School student, submitted this box, which we thought was delightful. Then Holly Cleland of Burbank submitted this box, which was selected. Gwendolyn Powell of Tahunga submitted this beautiful artwork, which the staff really thought was delightful. We think it's going to be really one of our more popular ones because of the animal theme. And then Adrian Uyos of Los Angeles submitted this artwork. Paul Juno of North Hollywood submitted this artwork, which will be one of our utility boxes that we also think will pop quite a bit from the street. Angela Alvarenga of Alhambra submitted this musical themed box. And Monica Potrotsky of Ventura submitted these lovely bird themed with oceans, and it's just really a imaginative piece. Ruben Espinosa of Santa Maria presented this box to us, mariachis. And then our alternate is by Van Manukian in Glendale, who submitted this very conceptual piece. So those are the 13 boxes that we have. We think they're all just very beautiful, very diverse. We're very pleased that they come from such a wide geographical area as far away as Santa Maria, and we're looking forward to having those installed. One comment that I do have is that as this program progresses towards the end, we may want to think about having a theme for our next round of submissions. Our next round of submissions will probably be in a more suburban area. So to state a theme might make for more interesting submissions or, more competitive submissions. Some suggestions for themes could be students, could be MFAs, could be high school students, et cetera. And staff will discuss that with the two commissioners on the committee over the next few weeks. Okay.
The number of submissions decreased this time, and
There's actually
or
more.
are they? But more. There were
There
more.
were more, yeah. And several artists submitted more than one submission, which was nice too.
And any repeat artists? Do we have a lot of them?
I want to say about 5 repeat artists.
5 out of the whole submissions.
Yeah, the rest were all new artists.
And so it's picking up. Do we have a feeling that it's picking up some momentum in terms of people knowing about it and submissions and engagement with it? Yeah.
Absolutely. We get lots of comments from people that live near the boxes or businesses saying that they really enjoy having the boxes in their neighborhoods. They are really, truly delightful, and we're really happy to be doing this project. One thing I'd like to recognize is that as this project has matured, we've been able to give it completely to Yvonne Martinez to manage. So not only are we doing a great art project, but we're developing staff in this art management kind of field. So I'm really happy to have Yvonne managing this project now.
Excellent. Yes.
A couple questions. And I know I've seen online the promotion for this project, which I think is great. Can you remind me, are the artists' names associated with the different projects online? Is there information about them or links to their websites and such?
Yes, we do have a link to the artist and their website. So the map online is interactive. You can click whatever neighborhood and it'll tell you who the artist is and where they're from and any information they wanted to link to.
And then I love that we have handouts for folks as well. And I'm wondering about in the future too, or if it's available, having this kind of thing to be able to be downloaded like as a PDF if somebody wants to share it. And I'm also curious, these look great, and if there are any future prints of them, if what your thoughts are about including a credit to the artists on the photos of the different artworks.
We could certainly do that. I think we simply didn't think of it. These were snapshots that were taken after the artwork was installed, but we could easily do that. As you can see, this is a very inexpensive and quick piece. We just picked out the ones that we thought would pop on the brochure, and we can certainly reprint this many, many times and in many different ways. So
Great.
that would be great. Also, I think something I neglected to say is that staff, the commission requested that staff investigate the addition of materials or something to identify the boxes themselves as Beyond the Box and Arts and Culture Commission projects. So Chuck surveyed 20 cities about how they identify their mural boxes to see what best practices were. And of the methods that we saw, including plaques and acrylic pieces put on, the most attractive and impactful was a stencil. Actually, the LAP, a downtown association in Los Angeles, gave each artist a stencil where they stenciled on their identity, and the artist could incorporate it into the artwork, and it was really beautiful and impactful. So we recommend incorporating the identity of Glendale utility box murals into an overall strategy of branding for the Arts and Culture Commission, which we talked about will probably be launching later this summer. And then after all the available boxes are done, or we think that we've gotten pretty much all we can, to go through and identify them all in some way that's uniform. So we anticipate doing that maybe in 2018.
And I had two other quick questions. You had mentioned for the more suburban locations in the future and maybe looking at a theme. Are there any organized groups, homeowner associations or such that might want to have a voice in that, or is it more far-flung than that?
We have many, many neighborhood associations in Glendale. Usually, well, in the past, to my recollection, if we do a group of mural boxes, they would probably incorporate more than one or two homeowner groups. But what we have done is that if a box is very close to a homeowner's home, we go and ask them, is there anything particular they'd like to see? If we have a couple of different choices, we let them choose. So we do very much involve the homeowners. And again, our reaction from them has been extremely positive because staff has been really diligent in selecting the right box for the right locations, particularly when it's in a residential area, so it complements the community.
Cool. And my last question was, I was just trying to remember if, I know we talked about this in the past, but I don't remember if we land on anything specific, but in terms of the selection criteria, did we implement or layer a criteria about a limit of or skipping every other call for artists, something just to make it more available to artists, so one artist doesn't ultimately have 10 in the city and somebody else has one, so that I know we talked about it, I just don't recall if we
Well, we don't have,
incorporated that.
excuse me, I'm sorry. We don't have a specific rule, but the guidelines is that it should be artistic and impactful. And if we have repeated ones, then that would make it not so artistic and not so impactful. So the spirit of it is to be as diverse as possible and to not have multiple artworks from the same artist, especially not in the same neighborhood. So that is definitely the spirit. However, there have been a couple of artists that have come forward with truly remarkable pieces, and we've allowed them to do repeat pieces, and that's why.
Add on to that a little bit. Just for the public to know and for fellow commissioners too, so the way it kind of works is we have sheets of paper with the artwork on top, and we kind of go through a process between the commissioners that are on the committee and staff, just judging based on the artwork. The backside has name, where they live, details about what their concept was. So often the first round is just simply look at the artwork, kind of set aside what you think would be great for a utility box in Glendale. And then eventually, depending on the numbers, if you need to filter down even more, then you start looking at, well, what's the concept, what's the message behind it, see what the artist's intent was with it. But along the process, and I think even with this batch, we did have some where we saw that they're repeat artists, and we just decided as collectively not to include them. And I don't believe we have any repeat artists. I believe there's a brand new set, almost all the artwork.
There's one repeat artist.
One repeat, yeah. And so there's one repeat artist, but there's actually a lot more that submitted repeat artists that had submitted for the project. So I think after that discussion, we just kind of made a conscious decision of trying not to repeat them. But you also want the best box, so it's kind of like a balancing act that you have to play. And hopefully, and with this batch as well, you just have a lot of great artwork, so it's very easy to avoid using too many repeat artists. But I guess there's no hard and fast rule, but it's something that's been brought up to everyone's attention to make sure that we incorporate as many new artists as possible.
Okay. The next project I wanted to update you on was the Public Art Master Plan. As you know, we released a request for proposals on February the 9th of 2016. After a very long vetting process, we finally got the approval to negotiate and enter into an agreement with Cars Goldstein by the end of December of this year. So I'm happy to report that the contracts have been finalized. Our legal and risk departments have approved them, and they are now with the city manager for a final signature, which we anticipate is either done or imminent. CARS will hold its first community engagement exercise at the grand reopening of Central Library. So one of the many activities that will be happening on that day will be a community engagement exercise conducted by our consultant, taking advantage of all the public that's there that day. And we'll get more details about that as it shapes up and as they design that. Barbara Goldstein is scheduled to come and visit with staff on April the 17th. I believe it's the day of your meeting, so she may attend the meeting and start a deep dive of research on April the 24th. And all this, of course, is pending the city manager's signature on the contract. So none of this work has started, but we've started to think about, just so she can make her airfare plans and stuff like that. Note that the Public Art Master Plan will incorporate a recommendation regarding the Arts and Culture Commission funding of Adams Square Mini Park art installations currently sponsored by general funds. That is whether the Urban Art Fund should invest in the ongoing maintenance and operation of the gas station as a curated art facility and how artist installations will be handled there. So that facility will be wrapped into the Public Art Master Plan analysis, as will all the other facilities in the city that do and could support art installations. The next,
I have a quick question about the Adams Hill gas station. There was going to be investigation or by the parks, to see what the situation, what the state of that space is? Is there any progress on that?
Currently, I believe they have issued orders to repair it. I don't know the specific details, but I know that they've looked at it and it's in the queue to be repaired. It's a historic resource, so there are specific rules on how it should be repaired, who should repair it, and how that happens. But again, we will look at it as inventory for public art and make a consideration based on its suitability, its accessibility, rather, to as with regards to all the other public spaces in the city, and whether or not it should be prioritized. Of course, I believe it should, because it has such a beautiful potential gallery. It's in a neighborhood that's very, very supportive of the arts, and in just a perfect place. So, but we do want to get expert opinion on whether or not that facility is sustainable, and if we should develop specific guidelines for it and what we should do about it in conjunction with all the other public facilities in the city.
Question on that, and this may have been from last meeting and I'm just forgetting, but is staff effectively recommending that the program end with the last currently scheduled art installation until the completion of the PAMP, or are you recommending that we at least continue with the process that we have now until something more formalized comes along?
The latter. We do have a program that's working. The community is okay with it. We've had some bumps that we've been able to, manage through, but we'd like to keep things the way they are until we have any new direction. So we do have 2 more installations scheduled. We have plenty of time to work with Cards Goldstein to, if in advance of a new call to artists, but we don't anticipate making any changes. The next program I wanted to update you on is the AHA program, our pop-up arts program. It's in its inaugural year. Several proposals have come forward. Let me explain the program first. AHA stands for Art Happens Anywhere. It's intended to foster a sense of excitement and discovery, unexpected art really in unexpected places. A request for proposals was issued in November of last year, and artists may submit until the funding is exhausted. We've received a number of very, very interesting proposals. We got another one today. Some of them are so interesting that they're completely not, feasible. But 3.
Well, if there's a will, there's a way.
There's a will, there's a way. The most viable one is the Word on the Street, which we've been working with the artist Scott Frauscher for. We brought his proposal forward to you all. It's utilizing the materials and visual language of street signs, but replacing the restrictive language, for example, stop, do not enter, with positive affirmations. The goal of this work is to surprise and delight viewers by giving them a positive and reassuring message in an ironically familiar format. So we vetted that to see if that's something that we could do, that is having street signs that say things that street signs aren't supposed to say. So to have a stop sign that says go, etc. We worked with traffic and engineering to find out what the rules are, where we could do that, etc. The artists would like to install these signs in our parks, which we thought was a delightful place for them to be. So we worked with the Parks Department to see if it's something that they desired, and they're completely on board as well. So we asked the artist to go ahead and finish out fully his proposal, identifying each sign at each location. Staff received the proposal, and staff just last week went out and checked out every single location. There were 12 of them, and just to see where the sign would be. Would it be nice in the park, how it would look? Would it be disturbing or distracting to anybody who was driving and might get the wrong message? And basically, we've just completed a report which endorses all the locations that the artist has put forth. So our next step is to go back to the Parks Department and to get their agreement, and perhaps even the Parks Commission's agreement that these are fine to go ahead with. Once we've gotten everybody on board, then the next phase will be contract development with the artist. So we're real happy about that one. The second proposal under development is called Out of Circulation, which is a performance dance piece by Heidi Duckler Dance Theater Company, which is a really renowned company for doing avant-garde dance work. We're negotiating a performance with them at the Reimagined Central Library that would occur over a 3-week period, where the public would be engaged with not only the final performance but the rehearsals as well, and also invited to participate in the rehearsal process. So we anticipate that that project will be done in August, and the Library of Arts and Culture Department would like to design a theme around that performance, all performance types of art for the month of August in the library. So we would not only have that performance art happening in the library, but we develop a special collection on performance art. We might have lectures on performance art or other performance artists in the space at the same time. So pretty excited about that. And just to update you briefly on the projects that really haven't changed that much since the last time. Our desire to do painted crosswalks, we did ask yourselves if we could vet that process and talk about how it could actually get done in Glendale. We've done a lot of investigation, and what we've uncovered is that it's a trade-off with creativity and cost, as many things are in life. Unfortunately, the crosswalk applications that are the most creative and the most desirable are the least sustainable. Those are the painted ones, the ones that were, for example, in Santa Monica that we saw, that were really beautiful, colorful, and vibrant. Those tend to fade almost immediately, and they have to be refreshed, and they're just not very sustainable. The painted crosswalks that are sustainable are the ones that are, in our opinion, the least interesting. Those are the ones that have a plastic thermal coat applied. They're limited colors and limited patterns for that within budget. Of course, anything can be done with the right amount of money, but the more creative those get, the more incrementally expensive they get. So we're going to continue to investigate this. We've ruled out, however, the intersection in front of the Central Library, which was the one that we really wanted to do. There's too much construction going on there. We found out that one leg of that crosswalk already has a thermal coat on it, so it would have to be removed before we could proceed. So that crosswalk that intersection is ruled out, which is kind of a shame. But we're also looking at the crosswalk in front of the Alex Theater and another one in the downtown. The issue with those crosswalks, however, is that we would need to close the street in order to install the artwork. And the busier the street, the more businesses, the more access it has, for example, by major trucks, et cetera, the more expensive it is to close the street down. So those streets are normally only closed for construction or emergency reasons. So we will work with the Traffic and Transportation Department and Public Works Engineering to see if those are viable from a cost standpoint as well. So basically what I'm saying is the door is closing on this project, but we will try as we might to see if there is a solution. And if there is a solution, I'll bring it forward at the next meeting. If it seems like we're spinning wheels and not getting anywhere, I'll give you that information at the next meeting and perhaps suggest some alternative uses for that funding. The next project I just wanted to update you on, Chuck actually already updated you on, is the Brand Plaza series. Call to Artists has been issued. The next one is the Central Library Entertainment series, which you authorized. We're having American Idol style auditions on the 14th of April, which will be in and of itself, we believe, a significant art piece to have people audition. We are hoping to have the auditions at our new auditorium, so it would be an opportunity to expose the performing public to our all-new auditorium at the same time. So we're working frantically to get that auditorium ready for the auditions. If for any reason it's not ready, the auditions would occur at the Brand Library and Arts Center auditorium. And again, Adams Square gas station, the next installation there is scheduled for May. So that concludes my report.
questions? Yes.
So I had a couple questions. So first on the Central Library Entertainment Series, so will we be kind of promoting that as like a public event, even the auditions, and trying to get people there to enjoy
Yes,
it? And
we are flagrantly copying the city of Beverly Hills, who has a more orchestral chamber type music audition process that has become a really beloved community event. The auditions themselves and then the performances. So because this is in front of our central library and we're looking to appeal to passersby of all walks of life and people that are in the downtown for a variety of reasons, we're looking for really interesting out there acts to engage the public as they're enjoying our downtown. So our call to artists is a little bit broader than our normal call to artists for performances would be. We're reaching out directly to dance companies and performance art companies, vocalists, et cetera, that we think might be very interesting for this. We even got a proposal from a person who performs silent concerts. So that's the level of things that we're looking for. We're looking for things that are really engaging, and we hope that the auditions will prove to help us get a group of performances that'll be really out of this world.
great. And then also, so going back to the Public Art Master Plan and then Adams Square gas station installations, could you remind me like timelines of when the Public Art Master Plan will start, when the projected end will be, and then also how the scheduling is going to work for the call to artists for the next wave of installations?
Well, the Public Art Master Plan will commence almost immediately as soon as we get the ink signature from the city manager, which could be in my mailbox right now. So we'll begin immediately. One of the first steps with that program is the development of an inventory of public spaces for public art. So my feeling is that about the time we're to do the next call to artists, that decision will be somewhat finalized by yourselves. The Public Art Master Plan is not just simply a document that gets delivered at the end, but it's developed along the way. So Barbara Goldstein and Aaron Paley and others from their joint organizations will be presenting to us all the time. One thing about the Adams Square Mini Park was that we did receive a lot of submissions and, within a relatively short notice. So if we do another call to artists in the late fall or in the fall, we think we can get a nice selection of artists to go with. So in other words, long story short, yes, I believe that if we do another call to artists for another round, we will be informed by the Public Art Master Plan by that time.
And that was kind of the main request I wanted to make. That I know we have already, done a call for artists. We already have commitments, and we already have kind of a schedule for the next wave. But I think if we can either set up a meeting or have some type of discussion with Barbara Goldstein and the firm to make a determination prior to the next call of how we're going to proceed, and then have an opportunity for commission to make a final decision. I've expressed it. We've had meetings, and I think the artists should be paid. And I think that it's an important project to the community. I think it's an important project to the homeowner association as well. And I think that as long as timing works out in a way where prior to the next submission or the call for artists, we have an opportunity to have another discussion, bring it back for a meeting, I think that would be a good way to proceed.
Sure, I completely agree, and we'll do that.
Thank you.
What you just said.
And when is so we have one commitment in May, and then when is the last installation of this program?
It's in the summer, so I think the final installation would end in October, because the first installation of the wave was October. So.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Item 6, Commission staff comments.
Any comments? Fellow commissioners or staff? Michael? Yes,
Go ahead. Wait.
go ahead.
Okay.
No, she was going to go on, I think. You have a comment? Go ahead.
Do you have a comment? One, I want to thank the Parks Department and for their involvement in our programs. We have at least 2 programs right now that are involving interdepartmental communications, and I think that is great. Love to see more of that, because I think that the arts should always be instrumental to every department within a city, frankly. And so I would just want to kind of do a shout out in that way, because I know that they don't necessarily have staff designated to that. So thank you. Another thing I want to comment on is that this is more on a federal level, because today there was an announcement of potential budgetary cuts to the National Endowment for the Arts. Of course, we never know how those things play out. But as we all know here, the arts is more than a black and white issue. Either, you go to a performance, or you buy art and you love art, or you don't. And that it intersects at the level of education, it intersects with economic development, with job creation, with helping folks who are in prison or incarcerated to move beyond that, and to prevent folks from getting into more trouble they might always with youth and that are faced with a lot of challenges. Art can intersect in a way that prevents their lives just kind of going in the wrong direction. So I just feel it's important for the commission and to ask the community and others to think about the ways in which art affects our world and to be vocal about that. And I would even frankly love to see even our city take a stand about the importance of arts formally. And so I'm just putting that out there. I think it's a really important issue, and it's to educate around now more than ever. And my last comment, I just wanted to say, last month at our meeting, we got an update on the ACE housing project, which is great. I think it's a beautiful project. Really looking forward to the opening in which we have an opportunity to see it, maybe meet some of the artists and see how those are progressing forward. I will say, and this was a long process, it was like a 3-year process or so, and I will just express some general disappointment that the initial focus of that project, which was specifically around artist preference and having an arts community in our arts and entertainment district for a variety of reasons of enlivening the streets, of providing space for arts, for all of these things that these types of projects bring forth, kind of dissipated in terms of what the initial focus of that was. And so I'm just hoping that the commission in the future and our city in the future can, and maybe even through the PAMP, can find ways of ensuring that there's integration of space for the arts and that these types of projects maybe have a stronger focus in our community. And I know that my term is coming to an end, so I want to be able to put that out there for future commission meetings and such, as we start to look at the issues of space and affordability for arts and cultural organizations and creatives in our community, and what they can do for our community and why they're needed, and we can maybe have some projects that stay true to that theme. Thank you.
Sean? Yeah.
Well, I just want to take a moment to thank the staff, because we as commissioners sit up here and we meet once a month and sometimes periodically between meetings, but the real work happens kind of in between meetings, not televised on TV. And just want to thank you all. Very excited about Beyond the Box. I think we're almost at our 100th box. I think the next wave will probably get us there, which is a great accomplishment for everybody here and all the different projects we support. So just thank you all for all the work you do.
Okay.
Item 7, written communications.
Don't have any written communications? Okay.
Item 8, adjournment.
Thank you.